The Atlanta Braves dropped the series finale 8-1 to the Texas Rangers, getting swept in Arlington. We're going to try to find some positives here, though. Let's talk about it.
This is the Braves Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Atlanta Braves. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into the Braves Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your Atlanta sports teams each and every day. Unfortunately, sometimes each and every single day. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. I'm the host of, I'm the author of the Braves Today newsletter over at bravestoday.com. That fellow over there is Jake Mastroianni, host of Locked On Braves. Catch him on social media at shortstopball. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Braves, wherever you get your podcasts. With the trade deadline looming this week, I think Jake's going to have a lot of content to be going over, a lot of deals, hopefully, to be discussing in the coming days. But first, we're going to discuss this 8-1 loss, Jake. And we always try to find the positives and stuff. I think before we can discuss some of the positives here, which Dylan Dodd is the biggest positive, right? We have to discuss Bryce Elder. He doesn't make it out of the third inning. 2 2/3, 8 runs on 6 hits and 4 walks. He does walk 3 batters. I'm sorry, he does strike out 3 batters. I'm having the most trouble today talking. But he allowed more runs than he had whiffs. He had 6 whiffs in this one. I know that you don't have anybody from your opening day rotation with Grant Holmes being placed on the IL this morning, but it almost feels like if this was a normal season, there'd be no way they could keep running Bryce Elder out there. The most trouble today. I'm so sorry. What do you do about Bryce Elder going forward? Like, you have to run him out there every 5th day right now because you don't have anybody else, right?
Yeah, but kind of to your point, I think you're looking, as I think a lot of us are, we're looking beyond 2025. What is Bryce Elder's future with this team beyond 2025? Right now, you really don't have a choice. I mean, you kind of have to run him out there. Yeah. But you look at it now, and last year it was 10 starts and an ERA over 6. And now this year it's 7 starts and an ERA over 6. I know you got the All-Star season in there. We're all kind of hanging our hat on that maybe that's still in there. And even this year, he had a good little run there at the beginning of the season before he got sent down for Spencer Strider. Remember at that time, Strider was saying, they brought me back, and there was a good guy that they sent down out of that. And yeah. Bryce Elder was throwing the ball really well. Since coming back, though, he's been quite awful. And like I said, you look at the sample size now of last year and this year combined, and it's 27 starts, an ERA over 6, a whip over 1.5. That's just not somebody that you can really depend on. And I don't know that there's much of a future with Bryce Elder on this team. Certainly he's here for depth, and if everything's going the way you hope it is, he's not up here. But I don't even know that you can call him quality depth at this point. I mean, you're hoping that he's going to give you 5 innings of 3 or 4 earned or less. Yeah. That's the hope when Bryce Elder goes out there. And right now he's not even giving you that at the moment. So it's just, it's a real struggle right now, obviously, with the Braves rotation where it is. You look at this series and, 2 of these games, it just felt like it was over before it even got started, especially this game on Sunday. Not only is it a Sunday game where the Braves can't win anyway, but you got, Bryce Elder on the mound, and you're down 3-0 at the end of the first inning. And it's just, I don't know. I kind of felt like I saw it from the team today too. There was just a look on their face and also in their play too, where it's just, I don't want to say give up. I know they're still trying, but it's a punch in the gut when you have all the injuries that you have to the rotation. And again, it feels like you're in a 3-0 hole to begin every game.
Yeah. I was really hoping that going home for, I think they said it was it would have been a second start in Texas. I was really hoping that would help him there. And to kind of go farther back, it's not just the last year and a half. The second half of 2023, he really wasn't that good either. And it feels like Atlanta keeps trying to get enough rotation depth where you don't have to use him. And unfortunately, we know injuries happen. Atlanta's used between 10 and 13 starters every season, 21, 22, 23. They're at, I think they're at 10 this year, not counting relievers working as openers, right? And so Elder keeps coming up in that 10. I really do feel, kind of agreeing with you, that there's got to be some sort of, he screams change of scenery guy in the offseason. The kind of guy that you take on some other struggling pitcher, you give them this struggling pitcher, and both of you say, hey, maybe we can fix this guy when you couldn't. And that's kind of what you're going to have. Because to your point, the team between Grant Holmes going on the IL and then Elder getting whacked early, and it was one hit. He walked 3 and then one hit cleared the bases. They were just completely out of it early in this game and never really got in there. I do want to give some praise, though, to Dylan Dodd. He is a guy, and maybe this ends up being the Bryce Elder role in the future. Dodd was not working out as a starter. He switches to the bullpen, and he's had a couple stumbles in the majors here and there, but today, 3 innings pitched, 2 hits, both of them were not even hard hit balls, no walks, no runs, 4 strikeouts. Between Joey Wentz ramping up the cutter usage and looking good, and then now Dylan Dodd with this cutter as his primary pitch, give me a reason why every lefty should not be throwing a cutter on this team.
Yeah, not to mention AJ Minter, so good here for so long with a cutter too as a lefty. So seems to be something working with that, certainly for the Braves, system. Two positives pitching wise in this series for me were Dane Dunning. He looked fantastic. I mean, I know he got the results, but just watching him, the stuff on Saturday looked great. And then Dylan Dodd on Sunday. Now, unfortunately, at least in the case of Dodd, it's lower leverage situations. I need to see him in some high leverage situations to see if there's something there. But the team also has to create high leverage situations for him to get that opportunity. So that's kind of tough. But I really want to see what you got here with Dylan Dodd, because maybe you do have another AJ Minter. I mean, I don't not necessarily the velocity there of an AJ Minter, but a good lefty with that good cutter and hopefully some better command. Maybe you have a really good lefty setup guy. And so that's something I'll be watching for the rest of the season, particularly after the deadline, if they are able to either trade some of these relievers, or in case of Montero, just let some of these relievers go, and that'll push up and elevate some of these young guys to see what they can do if the Braves do get chances for some high leverage situations, and maybe not even that, but just getting some situations, maybe in some close games, even that you're losing, but getting some close situations against the top of another lineup that has some lefties. You probably going to have some more games against the Phillies there. What can you do against Schwarber and Bryce Harper? I'd be interested to see what Dylan Dodd could do in that situation. So again, as we're kind of future looking the rest of the way, that's something that I'll be watching for Dylan Dodd, who may get sent down, as you mentioned on social media right after the game, just to get a fresh arm up. But I want to see Dylan Dodd in some closer games against some of the top lefties on the other team.
Yeah. I mean, between Dylan Lee, Dylan Dodd, it feels like we just need to go out. Like, we got a bunch of Spencers. We should get a bunch of Dylans, and we can just build this out of Spencers and Dylans, build the entire pitching staff out of that. All right. In just a second, I want to talk about the offense. What little of it there was. We'll do that next right here on the Braves Postcast. You ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Because Monarch Money is more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. Me and my wife use Monarch Money because we have all kind of different stuff, whether it's my personal, like it's our family accounts. I have my business bank accounts. We have, our HSA is held by somebody else. Retirement's in a different provider, all of that stuff. And Monarch Money brings it all together into one view, so we know exactly where we stand with everything at any given time. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. You know what, Jake? We were going to talk about the offense. I want to get back to the pitching for a second, because I was thinking about this during the break. Bryce Elder was not good today, right? He only threw 63 pitches. it feels like if this is game 3 of a 9-game stretch with no off days, where you travel to multiple cities, you play a game in a racetrack, for goodness sake, on Saturday. If you're not going to be good, at least give Atlanta length. Once you're already down 8-0, what's the harm in just leaving him in there to maybe get one more inning and save the bullpen a little bit more? I mean, you're lucky that right now you have optionable relievers, right? You can send a Dylan Dodd down, you can send a Hunter Stratton down or whatever. But there's been a lot of times Atlanta has not had that. Why not just ask Dylan Dodd or ask Bryce Elder to do a little bit more before you pull him out of the game?
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate the idea just because of where the Braves pitching is, and they haven't been getting a lot of innings from guys.
Yeah.
I mean, Bryce Elder feels like a veteran. Normally like a veteran, somebody later in their career that you'll be more comfortable doing that with, just saying, hey, I need you to eat this one, wear this one. Elder is still 26, even though it feels like he's been up for forever. And maybe I'm sure it's just part of, hey, this guy's having a bad day. Let's not make it any worse here. But yeah, I mean, I get the point. I don't necessarily hate the idea. It did seem really quick. Like it felt like Dylan Dodd had just gotten up. He gives up that hit and then just immediately Snit was out of the dugout, which I'm sure there's some frustration on Snit too, where I don't want to watch this anymore. Let me get this guy out of here. It was kind of what it felt like.
Yeah. And frustrating, but what can you do? Talking about frustrating, the offense has 4 hits today. 2 of them, Sean Murphy has just the luckiest RBI double you've seen. I think it had an expected batting average of 110. It was like 70 miles an hour, lands in no man's land between all 3 guys and bounces into the stands. Michael Harris does get the double late in the game there to give him a hit today, or to give him 2 hits, but give him another extra base hit. He's clearly the MVP of the series. Does it feel like he's hitting well enough where we can just say, okay, yeah, Nick Allen goes 1 for 3. He's batting .220, but Nick Allen's given us Gold Glove defense. We don't necessarily have to upgrade at shortstop. If Michael Harris can do this in center, if we can get better production out of second base, we're okay. Like, is that where we are right now with Michael Harris if he keeps doing this?
Yeah, I mean, if he does this the rest of the way and you feel good about it going in next year, kind of like I said the other day, though, Michael Harris has had great second halves. And then for whatever reason to start the year, he seems to struggle. And we're still waiting on him to just kind of have that year where he puts it all together. But as we've also talked about, the changes and the results he's having seem to stem from some mechanical changes.
Yeah.
And if that is the case, then he has something, to build onto going into next year, or something when he's struggling next time that he knows he can go back to. So I believe the results are real. I believe what we're seeing is real because of the mechanical changes, and even the good at bat. You're seeing him take some closer pitches. And as you've said many times, it's not the pitches in the zone. When he swings at pitches in the zone and makes contact, it's usually good contact. He's just hitting way too many pitches out of the zone. So it's very, very encouraging, I think, for Michael Harris. Definitely an MVP of this series. And for a series you get swept in, for a team that's out of it, you can come away with a silver lining and seeing that your center fielder seems to be back on track. It's always been the case, even when Orlando was here, that if everybody else in the lineup is doing what we think they should do, you're perfectly fine with a above average defender in the case of RC, a Gold Glove defender in the case of Allen, batting 9th for you. However, I will say an OPS, approaching 500 is really tough, really tough to have somebody in your lineup as great as a defense as he's playing, a 227 average, no home runs, and a 547
literally
OPS.
Does not have a barrel this year.
That is really hard to have in your lineup, no matter how good of a defense they're playing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we've ever had a season in modern, and I'm going to look for this after the game, in modern StatCast history where a guy qualified for leaderboards for an entire season and did not have a single barrel. Like, even Luis Ariz has popped a couple homers here this year, and Nick Allen doesn't have a single barrel. I'll check that after the game, but it feels like Nick Allen batting 9th is really testing the idea of, we don't care what your bat does if you're giving us Gold Glove defense. So I understand the people who want us to, I say us, the Braves, to upgrade at shortstop, while I'm also cognizant it's incredibly hard to do that, especially cheaply. So we'll see what happens. But just kind of interesting. I just wanted to get your thoughts there, because Again, I'm a fan of Nick Allen. I love the defense. He does have career homers, but he just doesn't have a barrel this year. So I'm curious to find out what'll happen and can we actually get one or not this year. My final thought I had on this series is you talked about Ronald Acuna's struggles yesterday. I was out on Jurickson Profar as a leadoff hitter until I think we got to this little stretch we've had here. His hitting streak broke today. He had a 4-game hit streak, but he's walked plenty. Like he's been drawing walks. I think he had 3 walks in this series, 2 hits. Only came around to score 1 time. That's more of an indictment on Atlanta than I think it is on Jurickson Profar. Is this a situation where we can keep Jurickson Profar leading off and keep Ronald at third, or do they need to just put Ronald back up top to maybe hopefully get him going again?
If Riley was anything like Riley right now, I think you put Acuna back at the leadoff spot and just go Acuna, Profar, Olsen, Riley, or Riley, Olsen, Baldwin, however you want to draw it and mix up the righties, lefties. But Riley just looks miserable. And again, I know he just came back, but the at-bats look so bad in the series.
They do.
And even Ronald, I mean, at least Ronald didn't strike out today. Talked about the night before on Saturday. He just missed a couple. He had some pop-outs here. It looks like he's just off the baseball. So hopefully he's close to getting back. I think I just prefer Acuna in the leadoff spot. But that's also dependent on Riley being Riley and Baldwin, doing what he's been doing, and Murphy and those guys. But I think Acuna just feels so comfortable in that spot. And I just want to see him come up to plate as much as possible. So I agree with your point on Profar that he is doing a much better job of getting his hits and getting on base, and that's great. But I just think where Acuna, where he feels comfortable, and I just ask Acuna, I mean, he's your star player. Where do you want to hit? And if he says leadoff, put him in the leadoff spot and just leave him there. And if Provar's still doing what he's doing, I'd bat him second, and then I put Olsen and Baldwin and Riley if he's going behind him, and Murphy and those guys, or Michael Harris, maybe just lay the hot hand, or whatever the case may be. That's a lot of lefties to cram right there. But yeah, I think I agree with you on Provar. He's doing a better job just getting on base, but I also just think put Acuna back at leadoff where he feels comfortable.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. And I'm a big believer in let guys bat where they want to bat within reason. If Ronald says bat me 7th, you're like, no, I'm not doing that. But other than that, let guys bat where they want to bat. If Michael Harris wants to be in the 9 hole because he just enjoys the 9 hole, maybe that's a thing you look into, all that stuff. Okay, so again, Braves dropped this one, getting swept. Now they are heading to Kansas City for 3 against the Royals. It is Strider versus Rich Hill on Monday. TBD on Tuesday versus Seth Lugo. I think we all kind of think that's going to be Hurston Waldrop getting called up for the start there. And then Joey Wentz versus a TBD on Wednesday. We will be back tomorrow with more to hopefully talk about a win to start the series there in Kansas City. But for Jake Mastroianni, I'm Lindsay Crosby. This has been the Braves Postcast.